Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of BogeyProof. This is going to be the third installment of the Friends of the Program segment that we're doing. So I'm coming to you guys today from Longmeadow, Massachusetts, and I'm sipping on a nice Pinot Noir. My mom bought this one. Shout out Charlene. But we got a special guest on today, Fontaine. Could you introduce him?
Absolutely. We got Jason Haddy joining the show today, live from Naples, Florida, I believe. I'll let him get into a little bit more about, where he's from and what he's sipping on. But before I do, let everybody know I got Jefferson Small Batch once again. Got to get through the rest of that bottle and fuel some more takes before we move on to the next. So, Jason, why don't you let us know what you're sipping on and a little more background of where you're from?
Hey guys. So first off, thank you for having me on the show. I'm really excited for what you guys are doing. Really interested to see what comes with it as well. And like they said, we are from Naples, Florida. We are down here sipping on some Glenfiddich IPA cask Scotch whiskey. This is my go-to kind of after dinner drink on the rocks or just straight up. It is just delicious. So again, thank you guys for having me on. I'm excited.
Absolutely. And I think to get right into it here, let's get right into the golf and, how you where it kind of came into your life and where you started playing, how you kind of, got the bug like we all kind of have. And it's kind of a common theme here with ourselves and our guests and get a little background.
Sure. So, my bug came from young age. My dad had the bug. He was the dad that had, black marks all over the bedroom ceiling because he was swinging golf clubs in there and, making me record him from the back, putting it on a VCR to see where his swing's at and all of that. So 3-4 years old, I'd say I probably started playing. And then got around 8, started playing a bit more. He would go to the range probably 2-3 times a week. So I was lucky enough to hop in with him there. Ended up entering a long drive contest when I was 10, even though the age was 12 to 15, won that. And so then played about another 4 years after that, monthly or something, once a month with my dad. And sadly, the game kind of went away for 4 years until about freshman year of college. Came back from there, started working in Naples that summer. And, what better place to be if you're going to pick up the game again, especially with the access that I was able to have to Tiburon and the course that my dad is a member at still. So I'd be stupid if I didn't start playing again. And then, that literally freshman summer, went out, bought some TaylorMade rocket balls, graphite shaft irons, went in for my first lesson and I'm hitting 6-iron 135 yards. But with, a 93 mile an hour swing speed or whatever it was at the time. And, the pro there, the coach, said, just so you know, by the end of this, we're getting you hitting this 190. And I was like, well, fuck that. That's not going to happen. Literally went through 3 drills, started swinging a bit more into out instead of just, 15 degrees slicing over it. And boom, there it was. With how strong and loft those clubs are, man, they flew.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen anymore. But that is, the long story of my my golf and where the love for the game came from.
Absolutely. Love it. Long drive at 10, being up on some 15-year-olds must have been pretty interesting.
Had to be straight down the pipe too. I think it was it wasn't even that crazy. I think I hit it like 193 or something like that. Like it was nothing crazy, but no one hit the grid, I guess would be my assumption from the rest of the crew. So we snuck that one in there.
Hey, win is a win. How often, you've been down in Naples for a little while now. How often you playing these days? I'm sure with COVID and, busy season down there versus what we do up here might be a little bit different with how often you play and the heat and all that fun stuff. So
exactly. During COVID, it's been sadly just about once a week, which I understand for a lot of people is still a lot. But when you're kind of love the game and trying to get better at it every single, time you go out, that's not enough. So, but before that, the first 4 years after college, maybe not 4 years, first 2 years after college, used to go to the range 3 times a week and then play twice a week. And that's when the handicap really started coming down for me. We went from, somewhere in a 22 range to about a 9 in one summer. And that was, back then. So still working on that. But, during COVID, and just getting to hang out with the people that you want to see in your life right now is it's tough to get out more than once a week for me.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, given that, the opportunity you have down there in Naples, being at Tibby and stuff like that, I mean, a 22 or a 9 at Tiburon travels pretty well to a lot of other courses. I mean, you have some pretty good facilities there to work on the game. And you're also, I mean, you're not just playing a local muni and shooting 81, you're playing a championship golf course, and kind of getting beat up out there at times, but makes you a better player.
Don't hold me short too. We've gotten it lower than the 9 now, but that was we're down to, I mean, I don't know if you guys wanted to save this for later, but I think we're down to 4.5 or something right now. Most weekends probably playing more like that 9, but it's still there. And when you we'll get more into the course later, and it's when certain things work well for me in my game, I can shoot some of the best rounds on that course for me. So
20, but Jason, I mean, 22 to a 9 in one summer, that is like an absolute dream for everybody.
Everything was above 95, and then suddenly it was, I shot 80 that summer or whatever. And with the the slope rating and all that of the course, that's where we got to. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. But outside of kind of the competitive aspect and just continuously trying to get better and better and work on that, what kind of keeps bringing you back to the game? Is there, some sort of relationship with, your father on the golf course, or friends, or trips or whatever? What kind of continues to bring you back to the course?
I mean, definitely both the things that you just said, and then, some more as well. But it is definitely a place that, being that I do work for my dad, a place that we can kind of get away from work and actually, enjoy time together rather than just bitching at each other over work all the time. Because it is not the easiest thing working for family, so then, it's getting to see him. It's the random rounds where you kind of give up and don't try to play well, but you're with 3 of your buddies and you're just going out, you're getting shit faced, and you don't have a care in the world at that time. You don't care if you shank it, you're gonna laugh, you're gonna if you 3-putt, you're gonna scream and chug a beer or something. And then of course there's that one shot that you pure and it actually does exactly what you want it to do, sort of thing. That is always going to keep me coming back for golf. It's that one shot, even when you're about to give up or whatever, you hit that one and you're like, yeah, all right, we can do this. But I think we all know it's not as easy as that.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty of good experiences down there in Naples. Probably more in that foursome kind of action you were talking about, getting a little shit faced and chugging beers and whatnot, but a lot of good times to be had.
Yeah, it's it's not a bad place to be if you're trying to play a little bit of golf. It gets a little hot in the summer, but who am I to complain? I'm not shoveling snow and I'm out there playing 9 holes instead.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
It's a good gig.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, let's keep going with the golf here. I mean, if you're, take a step outside of Naples maybe, and if you're gonna get one round, any place, any people, anything like that, what's your dream foursome? What kind of course you want to be at? All that fun stuff.
Man, I mean, I think I'd probably go a little cliche here, just like everyone, and say that we're gonna head to this place. Head to Augusta because I mean, I think we've all actually had the great opportunity of being there, right? Mikey, you went.
I have not. I feel like I've lived vicariously through Fontaine because he buys me some merch every time he goes.
I think this is from him, I think too.
Yeah, so I just slide into his Venmo and just give him give him a blank check and he brings back a couple surprises.
Let me know what it is. Yep. But yeah, I think I'd have to go on that cliche there. And then, I think Derek Jeter would be one of my go-tos. I may even stick in the Yankee thing because, an idol growing up was Mariano Rivera. So we may have to throw him in the mix, see what's going on there. I think a recent person on tour that would be a blast to go out and have like a fun round with would probably be Matthew Wolf. Just his fun, kind of easygoing attitude. He seems like he would, if he was actually loosening up and like probably with his boys, he'd probably be a blast to play with. So I don't know if that's necessarily like dream foursome, but I think that would be a really fun foursome for me. It would be some good dudes in there, and there's plenty more that we could throw, but
yeah. Well, Jason, I'm glad you didn't go the way of Brian Previtt and taking our foursome question and turning it into an entire outing.
I saw that. I had to stay away from that.
So I appreciate you kind of staying on the tracks with that one. I think that's a little more realistic. But if you have that group out there outside of the location and the guys that are with you or girls, what are you doing after the round with those guys? Are you going and having a fancy dinner? Are you just having a couple of drinks, or you taking them to your local spot? Like what are you doing?
We're definitely not having a fancy dinner after the round. We're going to find some sort of sports bar and getting some tall blue moons and some chicken wings or something and putting those back. We're not doing anything crazy after the round because no one wants to do that. You're tired. It's been a long day in the sun. You've already crushed 10 beers at least. Like, no one wants to go be fancy and sit down and be proper or anything like that. We're trying to have a good time, That's my go-to after. I don't need to go and, I do love steaks and all of that, but I think some dirty chicken wings and nachos or whatever while you're crushing some tall beers and ripping some shots is my go-to.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like a great afternoon to me, and likely probably what I'll be doing this weekend when I'm watching the QBE Shoutout that's right down at your guys' place, hosted by the Shark.
Yes.
Greg Norman.
Yes.
So used to be
blowing up
Shark
Instagram recently. But
is his six pack all over Instagram? Has he got a surfboard out? Like what's he doing?
That's all. That's it. There's nothing else to see there.
Extra, but yeah.
Nothing else to see there.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think it's exciting that that's going on this week, the QBE Shoutout at Tiburon. What golf course are they playing? Because I know you guys have two course set of facilities.
They are playing the Gold course, which they do every year. Besides one, as far as I know, they split the black and the gold because the gold had a really big issue with all the grass got infected or whatever the pesticides were, basically just burnt up the whole course. So they could not run it on the gold completely. So they run on the gold course. And it's a shame this year because no fans are allowed. I believe members, maybe if they live on the course, are allowed to walk it. But as far as I know, I don't have tickets and I live up the road, which is definitely a shame. But it's very cool that they're still putting on the event. Definitely.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fun event. I appreciate when the PGA Tour puts on kind of these. This isn't even really a charity event as much as just
it's just a not so serious event. These guys are still going to get their appearance fee and all of that. Sure, but it's cool to see them go out there and have a good time instead of being so serious all the through 18 holes all day and no one's smiling because they're working for their living. So it's nice to see them go out and have a bit of fun.
Yeah, no, and I like the pairings are really interesting, and we'll get into that in 2 seconds here. I'll go through those, but they'll have seniors on. Lexi Thompson has played in the past. She's doing something a little more important this week, playing
just a tad important. Yeah,
the U.S. Women's Open this week. But it's fun. Who did she play with?
Tony Finau last year, and then Bryson the year before. And actually, I mean, a cool experience there was the first year that her and Bryson played together. Bryson was kind of new on tour, just signed with Puma. And they put on a clinic right after the event. Or not even after the event, after the Friday or something when they finished up. So it was Lexi, Bryson, and Greg Norman all just went to the range and basically just hit balls. And there was 25 people around them that we got to ask questions. We got to, anything that you want. And Bryson then was actually still on, his one plane swing. He wasn't murdering balls like he does now. But someone had brought up a question that said, is that as hard as you can hit a ball? And he was like, no. And then like actually swung relatively to what he's doing now. His swing kind of looked the same. He had a little break in his wrist, and it was damn impressive to see in person. As watching all pro events, I think they are that will make you love the game of golf, as I believe it was Colin saying last week, or maybe Brian. Watching a pro event is way different in person than it is on TV.
Yeah, no, that's.
I think
go for it, Fontaine.
I think it just brings it just shows how good they are, obviously, and it just makes you appreciate it more when you see it in person, because on TV you just see, you usually see the
result.
You see the result. Yeah, you don't see the way the ball moves and this, that, and the other thing, where when you get that kind of view that you're used to seeing, right, from you see it in the air and stuff like that, and you just see how it's like the same thing every time, or dead straight, falls out of the air, all these different things that they're able to do with the ball. It's like, whoa, it's like a whole different thing, and it gets your attention for sure.
It's a different world. And even Lexi last year during the tour championship that they host here, I have a video on my phone from 20 feet in front of the tee or something, and I've never heard a sound ever from like me or one of my friends hitting a ball like that. It's just way different.
Oh yeah, she can hit it, that's for sure. She hits it. There's some newer girls that are like super long, some of the younger girls kind of fresh out of college, but she's always, ever since she's been on tour, at least even when she was an amateur, she was always on the longer side of that tour. She hits it hard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, that's some pretty cool insight, Jason. Little tidbit too, and it was probably the same year that you saw Bryson when he was his first year on tour. My uncle qualified for the Travelers that year, and he played with Bryson. He played with Bryson and Ryan Armour in the first two rounds of the Travelers, actually. And I remember my Uncle Billy and my Uncle Bobby actually caddied for him, so they've told the story a few times that they were just like, he is absolutely out of his mind. But there's very few people that they had ever seen with that much talent. And then Ryan Armour actually won later that year.
Wow.
A guy that plays completely different golf. Like he's in his mid 40s and he hits it.
Yep.
Yeah, he's like in his mid 40s and he flies it probably like 270. But he's always up there making, at least in the lower tournaments, having some good rounds.
The random appearance up there.
Yeah, but for sure. And they were just kind of floored by his overall talent, even though he was just legitimately out of his mind.
Young kid then. Yeah. Along with, it was funny in that clinic. As I said, we were allowed to ask questions and everything. And someone, I guess, maybe they had a few too many drinks that day, but they were like, Lexi, what book are you reading while Bryson's hitting the ball or reading a putt? And Bryson literally just walked over to the dude and said, if you want to put on the clinic, here's my driver. And just tried to hand it to him. And I was like, all right, like, I get it. That was funny. Like, you can be cocky when you're at that level, and whether you're crazy or not, it works for him, and it's been working for him for the last, this year, especially. He kind of blew up a bit. So, you can't hate the game.
I think that
literally blew up.
Yeah.
Physically and his actual performance. That kind of sheds some light into who he is, though. I feel like everybody's kind of at the point now with Bryson where there's no denying he is super talented, like you said, and beyond dedicated and like driven and very, he's going to make it work one way or the other. But he is definitely kind of socially a little quirky, right? So that kind of makes sense with the whole, a lot of people would probably laugh that off in that kind of event, but for him to go up to that individual take the driver, it's probably like,
it was like, hey, you want to come out here and put on the clinic, or because you're watching me. You're here watching me, so it was an awesome clinic. It was definitely awesome figure to have come and play this event at that point of his career, because everyone's questioning the 1 iron length and all of that, so it was cool to see that in person too. The size of his grips are just stupid. And I don't know how he does it, but clearly he makes it work. They're triple jumbos or whatever they are. It's crazy.
Yeah. Different world for him, to say the least. Let's talk about this QBE shootout and some of your experiences. Let's dive into this course and give some insight into what holes to look for. Our personal experiences we've had there. I think we've had some good times out there, and kind of really get into this tournament before we get too far into, the pros and how good they are. Let's talk about
Definitely.
how we, hack it around that place a little bit.
Definitely. So, in my experiences, I've played from the tips that are, hundreds of times. It is usually based on whether I am hitting the ball well at that time or not, which I either play the tips or I play one forward from that. But in my experiences and what I think are going to be your most important holes are generally just the par fives. Nothing, in my opinion, if you're driving the ball well on this course, it is not that difficult. So whenever I've driven the ball well, my irons can be so-so, and I can still kind of get around with an okay score. Your problems really come into effect when you miss the fairway. And since there is no rough, everything just runs off, and then you get in the pine straw behind 4 different trees and you have nowhere to go. And that is where my, big difficulties have come from. So, hole 1 on the gold, I'm looking at the scorecard now. I prepped a little bit for this.
There you go.
It's 573. It's basically a little dog leg to the right. It plays relatively straight, but it kind of curves around the water. So the green kind of fairway folds over it almost. With a good drive there, it's usually a bit wet down here when they play this. So I don't get much rollout, but they're usually 250, 260 kind of thing into this. Some big hitters in the field though this year. So I think that's going to be a hole that they can kind of attack, and especially in their formats, the first 2 days, I believe, they can really get after these holes. 6 is a long one. It's 600 yards on the card. Just dead straight par 5. There's bunkers in front of the green and water behind it. So I don't see, I guess if they're going scrambles, they can go after that hole because they're hitting it far enough where someone can float a 3-wood 270 into that kind of thing. But still it's a fairly tight green. I'm not sure if you remember that hole, Matt. Tough one to go after. Tough one sometimes for, a lot of amps. It's even hard to hold that green with 9 irons or especially depending on the pin location. If they throw the pin in the top right, back right of the green there, it's you're sitting on a ledge, 2-tier green, very hard little spot to hit with bunker and trouble behind. 9, for me, for my playing, 9 is the hardest hole on the course. Water both sides. Nightmare hole for me. Yeah. If I hit a fairway there, I'm like, yep, I'm having the round of my life. This is going great. Yeah. I'm sure for them, they probably don't care. It's probably, it's a 480 par 4. But they're hitting, 7 irons, 8 irons into that probably. If that, for some of these guys that are in the field this year, your Cameron Champs, your Tony Finau's, your Matthew Wolfs, who are all carrying balls 330. They can rip this course apart. Let's see continuing, I guess, on the par 5 trend. 14 is a par 5. For these guys, they can just hit driver straight down the middle, no problems. And then it's 230, 240 in. So for some of them, they're going to be hitting 4 irons, so they can stick this green. It's a big green. Trouble on the right side. Beautiful hole. Just trouble on the right, but for some of them, like especially in the scrambles, they rip this course apart in scrambles. It is tough if you start missing drivers, but that's when these guys lean on their teammate, and that's what they're there for. 17 is the last par 5 on the course. I've even equaled that hole 3 or 4 times in my life. I've probably played the course 150 times, so that may not be the best ratio, but not everyone can say that. So give me some props. Yeah, but it's another good driver. These guys take an insane line from the tees that they play. We were, funny story about that hole. It's fairly dead straight. It bends a little to the left, but not much. And Justin Thomas and Smiley Kaufman were teaming up in this 3 years ago or so. I want to say maybe 4.
R.I.P. Smiley
Yeah,
Kaufman.
shout out.
and and JT or Smiley hit one just dead center fairway, and they're in the scrambles, and classic kind of the boys sort of way. They were just like, just send it. And JT hit this drive that was just the most insane thing I think I've ever seen in person. Got home later that day, watched the highlights, and they said it went 414 or something. And he just swung out of his boots, and they had pitching wedge into the par 5 or something. It's a different world. So in my opinion, this course, I mean, it's beautiful. But when they're playing it in this team format, they can rip it apart. And that's why you see the 30 under pars that win it, or whatever it is, for the 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like you said, like with these kind of formats, and that's kind of the fun part of this, right? I mean, it's December, so like half the country, it's getting cold and golf's kind of winding down. So it's nice to take a little vacation through your TV and see a little Florida golf and act like you're not freezing. It's not 30 degrees out anymore. You're watching some golf, and like I said, it's a beautiful place. And you give these guys
46 degrees here this morning, though. Just saying, it was cold. It was cold.
Whoa.
It's about 62 right now. I had to put on a pullover. It's cold.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, you give the guys that are this good, like we've said before, I mean, you give them kind of scramble or, a 4-ball format where, especially at a course where if you kind of hit it straight, you're not going to be in too much trouble. So one, like the example you just gave, right? One guy hits it in play, the other guy is going to do something crazy.
Rip it.
So
go.
You get to see almost the absolute peak of what these guys can do, because they're not grinding and it's not a stroke play event where they got to get the thing in the hole for 72 holes. And, they got to go that different kind of mentality and a grind. They get to kind of take it back a little bit, but, they're still playing well and competing. They're all way too competitive to,
There's still $1 million prize. So,
yeah,
I mean,
exactly. There's still money to be made. So they're taking it still seriously. But the fact that they're able to like, okay, here's our strategy. You go first, and given the right opportunity, I'm going to do something crazy if I can. Like, that's what I love to see, because it lets them show off a little bit, right?
Yep.
Like they probably they don't reach all the way back for their fastball every week, because you got to get the ball in the hole for 72 holes.
Yep.
Something like this at a place like Tiburon, I mean, it gives them an opportunity to kind of hit some different shots and, really show off just like how much control they have over that little white golf ball.
It is, like you're saying there, it's what makes it fun to go and watch too, because you don't see it every week, in and out. These guys kind of go out there and try to do, maybe not you two, but what like you or I try to, or what I try to do with the shot shaping and all of that. And it kind of makes you realize, like, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Maybe I should be laying up out of the woods here instead of trying to bend a 3-wood 30 yards and, running it up past this bunker in between the water and whatnot. But, it's a really fun event. I mean, especially just the weather this time of year usually is, you're 70 degrees during the day. It's really nice to just get outside and see this event for sure. And course's best shape of the year this time of year as well.
Yeah, makes sense with all the heat and all that fun stuff. So yeah, and I mean, just to kind of wrap up our personal experiences on the course. I mean, that course, like you said, if you're not hitting it straight off the tee, you're in for a long day. There's not a lot of fun outside of the fairways there. A lot of water, a lot of some pretty deep bunkers, like fairway bunker wise, like stuff like that can kind of.
And you have your pop bunkers on 9 and 18 just thrown right in the middle of the fairway.
Yeah.
Which was a recent addition. I think they did it 3 years ago. So, which it makes it a little bit harder for these guys playing, because they did put the bunkers kind of right where their drivers would normally land.
Yeah.
So they can't necessarily just rip anywhere. But they still do.
Yeah, they got to defend the closing holes a little bit, right? Like make something a little interesting down the stretch, so they don't just blast a driver, flip a wedge. Throw something in there, make them think about it a little bit longer. But there's definitely holes to be had out there. I think some of the 4s are a little bit shorter. I mean, some of the 3s are actually pretty long, but there's like 10, right? I mean, 10. Most of these guys are
hole in the course. They're driving that.
They're driving that.
From the tips, it's listed 365. I would say it's probably playing 330 from the tips for them.
I think when we played, I like chased it up there for a couple of times.
Yeah,
Like,
you can
and I
certainly
certainly
get
don't hit 360. You know,
yeah, especially front pin there. I think you're probably playing it more 320-ish.
Yeah.
So they can. I mean, I think you birdied the whole 3 days in a row. So
May have.
Uh-oh.
We're good. Let's roll.
Mike is gone. It's still recording. Okay.
Still recorded, so we're live. I mean,
all right.
Yeah, definitely birdied 3 times in a row, which was, nice because a lot of those rounds are a little hungover and, kind of battling.
A little hungover is a little generous there, Matt. I mean, I don't know how deep you want me to get there, but
I mean, one of them might have got away from me, but we came back. We played pretty well. I mean, I don't know. But birdie 3 days in a row there. I mean, that hole though. I mean, the tree's coming quick on the right off the tee. So if you don't like fading it and you're a righty, you get some issues there. I think JB Holmes or his partner, somebody a few years ago, like it went 10 yards on that hole because he
straight into the trees.
Right,
So I think there's a video of it. It's somewhere on Instagram.
I've seen it.
Viewers can go find it, I'm sure.
Yeah. So as easy as it can be, there's issues to be had out there on any hole. I mean, you can make it, and I mean, these guys won't, but the normal golf.
I mean, it is nice to see them play the the alternate shot and stuff on this course because they have to, I think, which is second day of the tournament, I believe.
Yeah, the format is shotgun, alternate, or not shotgun, scramble, alternate, and then like four ball.
Yeah. So the alternate shot day is always someone blasts off and shoots 18 under or something like every year on the first day. And then alternate shot kind of comes in and they shoot 3 under the next day. And you kind of start to realize that it's not the easiest course. It's just when 2 pros are playing together and someone can find the middle of the fairway every time, relatively, they can really rip it apart. Yeah. But like you said, some of the short par 4s, and then long par 3s. I mean, even was it the 4th hole? I'm trying to look now.
I think it's 5, right before the
fifth hole, the par 3. Yep, right before the 225. And I would say 90% of the time I play that hole, it's dead into the wind.
Yeah, always coming off the water behind it, right behind it to the left.
Water's behind it on the left, and they even moved the tee back last year. So the hole before that, which is the par 4, that kind of green is a bit of a really dog like left there. I love that hole. It's a tough one if you're not hitting it well, but it's a really nice one to get out with par with. Mike, just so you know, it's water all down the left side, big
bunkers on the right off the tee, tight tee shot with I feel like you have 170 to 200 in on that after, at least from us playing. I'm sure they'll have a lot less, but
it's the problem there is too, though, if they hit it too far, it runs into water. When you hit it dead down the middle
on that left, it creeps up, right?
Yeah, a bunch of water creeps up. So then that green is there, and they put a tee box right next to that for that par 3. So I played it one time. It was playing 242 or something, which into wind, I stung a 2-iron. I actually have a video of it. I was playing by myself, hit this 2-iron just pure. I love 2-irons, 3-irons. I hate hybrids. Absolutely hate them. Don't know why. Just personal preference. Can't look over them. Can't hit them pure. Don't know. And it ended up about 15 yards short of the green, and I was like, "Holy fuck!" And next thing you know, I look at the weather report, and it's 22-mile-an-hour breeze south, and that's just dead into you. I was like, "Oh no!"
Yep, that'll do.
We're not getting that there.
Yeah.
But like you said, some of the par 3s, 8 short par 3. That's a fairly simple hole. What else you got? You have 12. 12 is not a bad par 3. 3 bunkers all around the green.
And 16 is awesome.
16 is a good hole. 16 is a pretty hole. Pretty famous video of Justin Thomas's swing when he's on that hole. He's wearing neon green pants, blue shirt, Franklin Templeton sign in the background. I've seen it all over Instagram. That's a pretty hole. Actually hit the pin there the other day, which I was about to be like, "Hey babe, I'm gonna need a ride home because I am shit faced," but clearly it didn't go in, and I've never had one, so
neither have I. We'll drink to that.
Sorry for rambling a bit there, but
nothing like a good pin seeker though. I think when we were talking the other day, it came up as like, what was the best shot you hit all this year? And that mine was a similar situation. So I feel you're hurt on that.
Oh, it hurts. You'd rather it just miss by like 20 feet than just be like, it hit the pin. I'm like, oh man, like give it to me one time,
Yeah.
But yeah, this the par threes are actually really nice on this course. Like you said, short par fours though. That's where they're gonna really attack this course. 7, it's 390 yards. That's a flip wedge in for them. There's a little kind of lane to get up to the green.
Yeah, they might take some wild angles off the tee on that hole.
I think first guy drills one, I think, and if they hit it up that little path, then second guy drills again, and whoever gets it. But I think if that first guy doesn't hit it, playing out of the, I mean, you guys may have different opinions, but I guess it's like rock sand. It's not bunker sand. It's kind of thick. I think they call it coquina is the name. Could be completely wrong. I believe that's what it's called.
We'll fact check that one.
Yeah.
We'll fact check that one.
Cut this out if that's wrong though.
Research and development team is on.
I think it's called coquina, and to me, it's the worst thing to play out of ever because you think you hit the ball well and it just doesn't go anywhere. It just literally just fluffs up the club. So that is all around that hole. But back to my first statement is I think this course is you drive it well, you can rip it apart. For these guys especially.
Yeah, no, I think we're all very much excited to kind of see how the pros tackle Tiburon this week. And I think for the listeners, I'll just quickly go through kind of the pairings this week, and you guys will each take a little time here while I'm listing these off and think about who you think your favorite is from a scramble format, from an alternate shot, and from a 4-ball, and we can run through that here shortly. But some of the teams playing this week, Rory Sabatini and Kevin Toya, the defending champions. They're paired in the first round with Sebastian Munoz and Joaquin Neiman. So a little Latin flair down there. When I see that pairing, I just think that little like salsa girl emoji. So that's what I'm thinking about. Another one, next pairing is Lanto Griffin and Mackenzie Hughes. Gritty. That's what I think about when I think about those two guys. Lanto Griffin had a really good year, and Mackenzie Hughes, I think he had a great up and down at BMW to make the FedEx Cup final. So that was exciting. Playing with Kevin Na and Sean O'Hare, two guys that turned pro out of high school. So kind of nice little fun fact for you guys on those two guys. Next one, Billy Horschel, Brendan Todd, little Florida Georgia connection. I think they call that football. It's like the cocktail party is the Florida Georgia football game they play every year.
Okay.
And they're playing at 9:30 on Friday with Ryan Palmer and Harold Varner the third. So that'll be a fun one. Ryan Palmer will be slinging hooks, and Harold Varner will have the Jays on. So that'll be fun. I think that's a group to watch, and they'll be having a good time out there.
Not if you want golf swing mechanics, though. Those two swings are wild.
Ryan Palmer won
Get it done though.
Yeah, Ryan Palmer won the Zurich with John Rahm though. So I think that's kind of underrated. He's a team, he knows how to win team events. Another one, Harris English and Matt Kuchar. They've won this event twice, finished in the top 2 or 3 another times, and now they took a little hiatus and now they're back playing. So definitely going to be the Sea Island duo is going to be people to watch. They're playing with a couple Australians, Mark Leishman, Cameron Smith. Mark Leishman's game hasn't been great as of late, but played decent at the Masters. And obviously Cameron Smith was up there. I think he finished second at the Masters. An interesting pairing next, Louis Oosthuizen and Bubba Watson. So we have a remake of the 2012 Masters playoff, playing together. So we'll see how that works out. I think Louis Oosthuizen's got a great golf swing, obviously. So Bubba will just be an arrogant prick this weekend. So
Bubba's going to hit some absolutely stupid shots. I mean, like we've been saying, right? Like somebody's going to put it in play. Louis always hits it well. He'll hit every fairway. And Bubba's going to do the whole Bubba golf thing and like just hit stupid shots. And I really hope they don't play well just because I don't want to watch it and hear it all weekend. But it kind of sets up well for him because they're so polar opposite games they're going to meet somewhere in the middle, and it probably works out pretty well. But
yeah,
gross pain.
no, I agree. I would be surprised if they don't play pretty well, actually. Yeah, but they're playing at 10 o'clock on Friday with Daniel Berger and Steve Stricker. Daniel Berger, interesting golf swing, but guy has gotten it done this year. And Steve Stricker, just fire stick of a putter. So you never know. Like, played well at Mayakoba last weekend. I think he was T17 or something down there.
Always
two
plays
events
well.
this year.
Always plays well here too. Lives just around the corner in Bonita Springs. Bought a house about 2 years ago, so he lives in this area. Always plays well at this course.
Oh, hey, this is Haddy. This is why we brought you on. A little insight.
He tried to buy a house in Tiburon, and the person selling the house was basically, he offered them a cash offer that was not much less than the asking price, and the person said no, which in my opinion was very, very silly. I don't want to bring up numbers because it's not our business, but I know what the numbers were, and it was, I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Cash offer.
Yeah.
So
sorry to cut you off there.
No. I mean, Steve Stricker, everything I've heard seems like a pretty great guy, and excited for him to captain the Ryder Cup team in 2021 at Whistling. So hopefully he plays well. I would expect him to. And then the last, 4 guys playing here, we got Abe Anser and Matt Wolf playing together. Young group of, stalwarts when it comes to, when I think of President's Cups in the future. These are 2 guys that are, going to be mainstays on those, both the international and the U.S. team. They're playing with Cameron Champ and Tony Finau. So we're going to see a lot of long and crooked drives from that team. We'll see if Tony Finau has rebounded from a tough weekend at Mayakoba, but I would expect him to. He's been a great player for a handful of years now, and has had some success in this QBE shootout before. So
yep.
We'll send it to you, Haddy, first. Who do you think's gonna take the scramble on Friday?
Scramble team. My take from this, I looked up, just looking at the squad earlier, before the podcast. My guess was going to be Matt Wolf and Abraham Anser. Matthew Wolf can hit the shit out of the ball with every single person on tour. He's not getting outdriven by many people. If anyone, it's going to be the playing partners that he's with, Cameron Champ and Finau. But consistency wise, he seems to pepper fairways. If you want to go back to, the beginning of COVID, when him, Rory, DJ, who else was in that? Ricky Fowler, right? And they played in that format there, and he was out driving DJ and Rory every hole, and I think with some of that 330, 340 carry that he can do, and then with the wedge skill that Anser has, I think they can rip this course apart.
Yeah, that's a good mix for sure.
Yeah.
And they're both young guys too. Like, both seem pretty. I mean, Abe Anser was gritty in that President's Cup. Like, played really, really well. Lost to Tiger, but I mean, a lot of people can say they've lost to Tiger along the way. So nothing too crazy there. But I mean, yeah, Abe, and he actually, he had one of the more ridiculous stat lines in tournaments when he lost to Webb Simpson at I think it was the RBC Heritage down at Harbor Town, where he hit like 68 out of 72 greens that weekend, week. Like, something ridiculous. Hit every green on Sunday, like, just strikes the shit out of the ball. So like you said, the combination of Wolf just hammering it down there, and then you get him to those short irons in there. I think it's a good recipe with those 2 going. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with those picks, and I'll take the pick from our group on the modified alternate shot, just to keep things moving. I really like Munoz and Neiman. I've read a little about those 2 guys, and they seem to be good friends. Both from Latin America, and I think both from South America. Actually, I think Neiman's from Chile and Munoz is I think from Venezuela. But so I think they'll be a fun team to watch, and I think there's just a little bit of an alternate game there where they're going to find some ways. I think it's an easier format because both people do get to hit a drive, but I do think there's a little bit of strategy involved into
who's hitting the
their
putt
irons a
and
little. Yeah, who's hitting a little better irons and angles and stuff like that. Neiman doesn't hit it super high. So, where there's some times where it might make sense for Munoz to hit shots, even if it's a little bit farther, just because he's got to hit it up in the air a little bit. Or, it caused, that maybe there's a back pin. It's like, hey, Neiman's low ball flight's going to help us chase something back there to a pin that we really don't want to fly all the way there. So I think they have some interesting little characteristics that make them successful. But Fontaine, what do you think about for the 4-ball? Who would be your pick?
4-ball pick. I like. This is a tough one. I like. I think I want to go with like Leash and Smith. I think out of all the formats, I think alternate shot they actually probably are going to separate themselves. But these are guys like President Cup guys. I think they were actually partnered up a little bit last year down in Melbourne. So I think they're so comfortable. Even if they weren't paired up for actual matches, they were paired up in practice rounds. They played together a bunch of times. I think, that kind of chemistry and stuff like that, you don't have to you're not worried about game planning, right? Like sometimes if you play in a 4-ball with somebody you don't play with all the time, there's that little bit of anxiety. I mean, these guys are so good. I don't know how much this affects them, but personally, when I'm playing in a 4-ball, if I'm not playing with somebody I'm comfortable with and I play with all the time, there's that little bit of anxiety of like, oh, what do you want to do for like a strategy here? Or like, is it okay if I give that guy that putt when you're playing? I mean, that's match play for us, but there's all those little kind of nuances that go with playing in a partner style event that these guys, I mean, they do it all the time. And they probably play a bunch of practice rounds together for regular tournaments. And I think the comfort level there will just make things incredibly easy for them.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great take, Matt. Kind of to finish off this little section, Hattie, if you were out there and they were allowing fans outside of maybe Wolf and Answer, who I think a lot of people are going to pick, who's that pairing that you would be out there following, and think would be a really fun time to watch?
I guess there's two. So, I gotta go with Steve Stricker. I gotta reach out to him. I met him, shook his hand. He is the reason why I was able to go to the Masters. So that is definitely, going to be a guy that I'm going to follow. And Berger, I mean, Torrey Slater is going to be walking behind. We're fine. Other than that, I think the exciting pair there is going to be a Cameron Champ, Tony Finau. To your point of earlier, they're going to be ripping drives all over the place. And I think we all know both of them can get, that 200 mile an hour, 195 or whatever it is, ball speed. And seeing that in person would be exciting, So it is a shame that we can't go this year. But, hopefully I'll be able to sneak in and, sneak a Bud Light on the course and just stroll around and, sorry guys, just trying to go for a walk. Didn't realize there was a golf tournament here. But I think that group would be exciting to watch as well.
Yeah. What about you, Fontaine? Who would be the group that you're following out there?
Cameron Champ and Finau are probably just the highlight reel one, right? I mean, but Kevin Na and Sean O'Hare, I want to see what goes on with like the banter between those two. Like you said earlier, they're both pro out of high school, kind of different paths to professional golf, right? That's not really common in golf. And both of them throughout their careers have some pretty wild stories kind of along the way. I think Kevin Na's at the point now where he's pretty much well solidified and kind of mellow, but along the way, there's some weird stuff with him with the kind of the swing yips and made a 14 on a hole. Like he's got some stories to him. And Sean O'Hare at one, I think, did he win a major? No, I don't know. I don't think so. No, it was Glover at Bethpage or whatever. But Sean O'Hare was like really, really good coming up like out of high school and, that early part of his career. But he had some like demons and like just fell off the earth. And now is kind of came back in the mix. I mean, he's not like definitely not like a top player in the world by any means. But again, like the path that they took to go pro is different than most. And I think they both have just a totally different approach to the game than a lot of people do, whether it's professional golfers or normal golfers. So the banter and like the chit chat between them, I think would be a little bit weird. I don't know how those personalities mix. So I'd like to kind of see that more of just a curiosity than like, oh, this is going to be really fun golf to watch. But I think I want to see what goes on there.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we can get like a bug of a microphone on the
Right.
on those two caddies, maybe to hear a little banter. But
Once I sneak
Sean?
in, I'll record some content for you guys and just
There we
walk
go.
alongside.
Hey, we appreciate friend of the pod.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, Sean O'Hare is a wild story too. I actually remember going to an event when Sean O'Hare was like 21. He just got married. He was like 20 or 21. He won a New England Pro event up here in Massachusetts or New Hampshire or whatever. And I just remember how crazy it was. He was like so ridiculously young. But there's just like all this chatter about, this is one of the next superstars. Hasn't really matriculated into that, but has, had a decent career on the PGA Tour and continues to play at a high level. I think a group I think is relatively interesting. I think the Billy Horschel, Brendan Todd group. I don't think there's anything overly crazy about their golf games that intrigues me, but I think those are two golf games that I can probably relate to the most. Neither of them hit it unbelievably far as, from a tour standard. But Billy Horschel gets super fiery out there, and obviously Brendan Todd's had a ton of success lately. So, kind of following along and seeing what that formula is to be that successful, even though he only flies at 270 or 280 off the tee, I think would be very interesting to watch.
I've I guess I agree with you. Funny story about Billy Horschel, though. He's played this course, multiples of times. He's been here every year that I know of. And there's one year they were in contention, kind of coming off of 17. And when you finish 17, you have to walk across a little road to get to 18T. It's about, 200 yard walk or so. And there's a guy wearing a Georgia shirt just standing at like the little exit gate from the 17th green. And he just get the fuck out of the way. And then he just walks down the road, just gator chomping like his way down. And I was like, all right, I respect that. Like, you gotta get your business done. But like, I'm glad to see that you're having fun with it,
Yeah, and he's true to his colors, right? He's always the gator guy. Whenever
always
I forget what event it is, they kind of highlight the colleges that the pros played at, where like they put it next to the scoreboard, they pick a day and they all wear kind of the colors of their school they went to. And he goes all out with the blue and orange, like orange pants, I feel like, and like a blue shirt, like just over the top. But he's always a gator guy through and through. I think all their tournaments he's won, he's done the gator chomp for some reason. I feel like I see that. I remember that happening on some greens.
Yep.
Yeah, he's kind of a wild character.
Yeah.
But kind of tie a loop on the QBE Shoutout and the Naples area. Haddy, tell us, give us a little insight about the area around, whether it be Naples or Fort Myers. Where should the players go and, grab a beer after the round, or what's a couple good restaurants that they should be hitting up?
Well, I guess along those lines, sad this year, because who knows what's going to be happening. But you used to be able to walk through, there's a Ritz-Carlton on the Tiburon golf course. And you used to be able to walk through that restaurant and go sit at the bar after these rounds, and the place would just be full of players. They're all hanging out. It's like we've said, it's a fun weekend or 3 days for them. So that was, always cool. So who knows what's going to be going on this year. Number one place I can recommend is where my girlfriend works, is Hobnob Kitchen and Bar. It's down on 5th Avenue in Naples, which is a very, very busy restaurant street. Upwards of 20 restaurants that you can go in the whole area, bunch of drinks. Fontaine, we've been to a few. I don't know if we made it down to 5th Ave though.
I don't know if we did. I don't know if you were working there last time I was there.
And then it's, off of that, there's your usual tourist place, which I guess you would go, the popular places where I try to avoid at this point because it's always just the same tourist people, which is in, Mercado, which is happens to be right across the street from me. And there's another 10 bars there of all different kinds, 2 kind of clubs, one sports bar kind of thing. There's a British pub, which is great. If you're looking for food and drinks, this is kind of the place to go. We always went to Bow Campers, I believe, after our rounds, Matt. That's where we were crushing some wings and some Blue Moons. Outdoor bar, you can smoke cigars on the patio. Always a nice little, breakdown after the round is You guys can go there, review your cards, have some drinks, good wings. They're super spicy if you get them hot. So it's there's kind of unlimited places that you can go for dinner and drinks or food and drinks after you're around in Naples.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a great time. And, I think I can speak for Matt and myself, we're hoping to get down there and share around with you at
Yeah.
Tibby soon, and, get a couple of those wings and blue moons after the round. But
please do. Yeah. Looking forward to having you guys again. It'll be cool once we can do that.
Yeah. Haddy, we appreciate you jumping on here, and cheers, boys.
Hey, just real quick, appreciate what you guys are doing. Love the content idea. You guys know what I'm doing. So the jump into something new is really cool. And I'm really glad that you guys asked me to be on to experience it with you guys. And hope you grow, get success from this and all of that, man. So whenever you guys want me on, we're here. If you guys want to do, any ideas, bring me in. I love it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Cheers. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Cheers, guys.
All right. See you, boys.
See you.